Never seen a lame man walk, never heard a dumb man talk, never seen a blind man see. I promise you will change his name. Never seen a canceled debt, never seen all the poor get fed, never seen a prisoner set free. I promise you will change his name. Change his name, my Lord, change his Can you hear me now? Church, can you hear me now? Never seen a broken heart made whole, never seen an orphan find a home, never seen a weak find the strength. I promise you will change his name. Never seen the sick get healed, never seen a mystery revealed, never seen.
What's up, everybody? It's time for the Big C and Bigger T podcast. I'm your boy Bigger T, joined as usual by my man Big C. How you doing, Clint?
Man, I'm fantastic.
That's enough out of you.
Okay.
Now we have hey, look, folks. When things are going like they are up on the hill, we need some experts to come in here and give us some solace, give us some understanding of what in the world's going on. And so we called our resident expert and we got him on the podcast tonight. Bart Reid, how you doing, buddy?
Good. Travis, Clint, how are y'all? Good to be back on.
Man, it's good to have you. Wish it was under a better circumstances, better record anyway for the Hog. But man, some big news for you. You've joined the staff of Hog Sports. Kind of helping out there a little bit.
Helping out and getting to talk basketball, Razorbacks, which I love. And so it's a real good opportunity. And Trey Biddy and I went to school together, so it's kind of expanding my career, I guess, horizons, doing a little bit of writing, which I'm sure is wearing on Trey a little bit because he's doing a lot of proofreading. But no, it's good. And again, it's a unique time on the Hill for the basketball team. So
well, if he's looking for anybody, I mean, I was the assistant editor of the Panther Scream.
Okay.
In high school.
Fine job. Fine.
We put out one newspaper a month.
Proofreading's hard.
My sports articles.
I mean, if you mess up and you post it out there and it's like, man, why didn't you catch that?
That's right. Yeah.
Why didn't you catch it? So yeah, Trey Biddy is our arch rival. We based that on absolutely nothing. Other than wanting to be like big time, like Trey Biddy.
Yeah.
So
we actually reference him a lot on here, man, because and I'm a member. I've been a member of his site for a long time, and he's nice enough to, when we have interviews, sometimes I'll go put a link on it. And I checked with him before I ever did it, and he lets us advertise the podcast on there, and so people can, and he, of course, never give out insider information. We don't want to go past the paywall.
Yeah.
So if there's something that's on the paywall, we never share it on here, unless a lot of times
I'm not behind the. I'm not
unless
pay for it.
Well, a lot of times Trey shares a lot just through his podcasts and stuff. So
Yep.
I have a lot of respect for him and Danny West and all those guys, man.
They do a great job.
And during football season, people make a point to get on there, like if for nothing else on Drive Time Sports, and I catch myself doing that. Like I want to get on there for Trey Biddy's segment, like like there's so much good information on there, and you can tell he gets annoyed with some of the callers, as do I. That's why if I hosted Drive Time Sports, there'd be no callers.
I guarantee you, Trey couldn't do a whole show of Drive Time. He couldn't handle the callers that long.
It's tough because you get some people calling in super quick to the point, and then I think some would talk almost the whole show. So
but some are Captain Obvious too, aren't they?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Now, man, we do appreciate you coming on, and folks too. Hey, another place, you got your Pure Sweat. Advertise that real quick. Pure
Sweat basketball, and so you can go to puresweat.com and find and look me up. I'm all over the place. Benton, Bryant, Sheridan, Fayetteville. So I travel all over the place, but Pure Sweat Basketball. And you can find me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Bart
You
Reid.
got a kid that wants to improve. Look, folks, we're living in a world today where high school coaches don't have, especially in smaller schools, they don't have the time, they don't have the ability. Sometimes they're coaching stuff that, they're just reading a few articles and getting some drills and getting out there and doing. I mean, they're doing the best they can. But if you want your kid to have a better chance to go to college or just be better while they're in high school, man.
That's right.
Someone like Bart, that's what you need. Someone they can teach your kids some drills that they can take home and do for themselves and continue to train with them. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm all about game focus. So if you don't do it in a game, listen, I got love for everybody, but no balloons, no cones, no 3 balls with me. It's all what you do in a game is what we're going to do in workouts. So, and people are starting younger and younger, and even the college coaches don't have time to do a lot of that stuff. So,
well, and then now too, you can check out Bart on Hog Sports, folks. So if you're not a member of that, that's the best. To me, it's the best Razorback fan site there is. I've tried some of the other ones. I paid for some of the other ones, and but Trey and Danny and those guys, they give the best. And knowing Bart before and the information he's given us on here, that's going to continue. You're going to continue to get the best information you can. So anyway, they're not sponsoring us at all, but we want to we want to throw that out there because we do have a lot of respect for them. Well, Clint, I got a Holy Shnikes moment.
You got a Holy Shnikes moment. I got a story I got to tell.
Well, tell your story, man.
Tell my story. So I went to coach the jiu-jitsu tournament this weekend. Got a kid that's been doing jiu-jitsu just for a short time. Named Gage, and he's learning, but he's got a lot of heart. Kid's got a lot of heart. I can tell.
Well, he's got a good name for fighter, Gage.
Yeah, he does.
Gage. I started calling him 12 Gauge at the tournament.
Oh, there, money right
gauge.
there.
Go 12 Gauge.
Get the shirts printed, start selling.
Yeah, that's right.
So Gage is down 19-0 in his match.
Ooh.
Now, the most you can score on a point in jiu-jitsu is 4 points. So for you that don't know how scoring jiu-jitsu, he's not coming back and winning on points. The guy has got his back. So he's in a terrible, terrible, terrible position.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible spot. And the guy's trying to choke him. There's 30 seconds left in the match. And I'm like, Gage, as I'm helping coach, and I'm yelling, Gage, you do not let him have that choke. The only thing you can, I'm like, you're going to make him go the distance just on pride alone. Do not get submitted. Defend the choke. 30 seconds in the match, down 19-0. Gage goes, what you got? Like, what you got? Come on. Bring
he said that?
He said it. And I fall over on the barricade. I'm like, bro, don't be talking.
Yeah.
But also, I was just delighted inside.
It's when the other guy goes, scoreboard.
Gage did win a match later in the day.
Oh, okay.
So I was real proud of him. So
I thought you were going to say you gave him some advice and he reversed it and won the match.
I thought you were going to say you knocked him out.
No,
yeah.
Right, no, he was in trouble, guys. It wasn't. I mean, the only way he was getting out of that is if I came out there and punched the kid, and that would have probably got me arrested. So
yeah. Well, now you got to, as a coach, you got to work on your trash talking. Yeah.
Well, jiu-jitsu, is that hand to hand and then feet on the ground?
No, that's that's submission grappling.
Okay.
I'm a black belt. I've been doing it about 15 years.
Okay.
I'm mediocre at it. No, I've been doing it a long time, and I've competed all over the country doing it.
Nice. So if you were going to train to learn that, what's a great spot? Because I'm interested in that. So.
Well, I'm trained through Gravitas in Conway, Arkansas.
Nice. Okay.
I'm affiliated with we're affiliated with Living Defense Martial Arts out of Sherwood. another great. I mean, it just depends on where. I mean, it used to be when I started, and this just we're getting off on me here, which I didn't mean to do when I got the basketball guru here. But when I first started, it was like there wasn't that many black belts in the state. There's maybe 5 or 6. Now in Gravitas alone, where I train, there's 6. The sport's grown. So like if you're in Little Rock, Westside MMA, that's where Thug Nasty trains out of, and Sherwood, and then there was Revolution in Benton. But there's good gyms all over the place now. It's not like back in the day, and and everybody's got different styles that they like to do. So I'm an old guy, and I like a chilled vibe, and just kind of hang out with my buddies. And that's what I like about Gravitas, and that's kind of what.
Nice.
So
I like it.
Well, back to our Holy Snikes moment.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
That's a great story, Clint. Great story.
Thank you. You're welcome.
The University of Missouri, one of our Arkansas rivals, received an anonymous donation today. Anonymous. Okay. $62 million.
Gosh.
$50 million for upgrades to the stadium, which Clint, you've been there. You said it needs it.
Yeah. It's a dump.
It's
a dump in SEC terms, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
and $12 million straight to the NIL collective.
Listen, I could tell you this, and this is Travis, this isn't off the subject, it's on the subject, but Missouri's been hot after for like Honor Boateng, Terry, all my guys, like Missouri's nipping on the heels. Of course, Coach Nutt is up there, and Coach Smith Peters, and they have some ties. Their lead to me was, we are not going to get beat on NIL. I mean, just flat out. And a lot of my guys are not thinking NILs that push them over the top, and that's not the leading thing. But I was just shocked how they very confidently came out and said, we got NIL money. Yeah. So
now do you think these guys that are most likely going to be one and dones nowadays, like the guys like Nick Smiths and guys like that, do you think NIL is really a big deal to them at all?
It's really not. It's a great question.
Who's going to get me ready for
who's going to get them ready, because they're not short-sighted in that. So if you went to a place for NIL and you were one and done, and you picked the wrong system because of short-term money you could make for a year, then you just messed yourself up for potentially 10 to 12 years of better money. So I would say that's 3rd or 4th on the list, to be honest. It's always going to be about
probably
coaching.
A bigger deal to like your transfer guys.
Sure. And I think football as a whole, because those guys have to stay there longer, I think. And that's, they're
going to be there 3 years at least. Well, unless they transfer.
That's right.
So, and probably, I'm guessing in basketball, especially just because of fewer players, there's probably not that big of a difference in the money enough to make you to change your mind on what school you go to where the things you're talking about, the system, am I going to win games? So I'm on TV, so that scouts are going to be there to watch my games. Am I playing in a conference to where that, not only are scouts going to come see me, but they're going to be coming to see someone I'm playing. So they're going to get to see me that game. Yep. Also, I think things like that would make a huge difference.
I think
the money would be even. That's what I'm saying.
And what's surprising is, I won't say who, but I've got a couple of people I talk to on the Alabama staff quite frequently, and the perception is Arkansas on the basketball side, that they NIL, that they're top of the food chain, that there's quite a bit of dollars there, to the point where Alabama said, listen, we're not going after player X, Y, and Z because we can't compete with Arkansas with NIL. And I thought, really? Like, I would have thought Alabama, of course, they're competing with the football budget. And so that, I know it makes it tough.
Yeah,
but
still, come on. If Alabama won the national, Oats could win the national championship in basketball. And they'd be like, "That's cute. Do you know spring practice starts in 2 weeks?"
Gotcha. I agree.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, like they'll be with the basketball as long as they're good, but it's like still, it's be like, yeah, that's cute.
For sure.
Roll Tide.
But what if they do a third party like the Edge, like Arkansas is doing? I don't know what the model is, but what if that's evenly dispersed? Which I don't know if it's evenly dispersed. I'm just saying but the NIL has opened up so many question marks. I don't think anybody knows anything what the landscape's going to be and where it's going.
Yeah. Well, Bart, let's talk about this team. Okay. Yep.
Do we have to talk about?
Well, yeah,
Bart,
we do.
Bart's here,
it's
so
rough.
Bart, we all thought this was going to be the team, and well, sometimes you just got to admit we were wrong.
Yeah, and the reasons that we're wrong is not what I thought, because a lot of people are saying they automatically default when you lose games to talent, and this team is not lacking in talent, guys. I'm sorry, this is not Mike Anderson's first year and the 2 and whatever year under Pelfrey. There's real players on this roster, and there's some next level talent on this roster. And I've said this, I think we get hung up on the individual accolades of what some one person can do in basketball. And we forget that basketball is a team sport. It's not tennis. It's not golf. Chemistry matters. And if you look at this team, you don't look at any of the analytics and you're just watching the game, it never flows. The ball never moves on offense. Mm-hmm. We have these drastic 5 to 7 minute spurts on offense and defense where we can't make a shot, and then we can't stop teams from making a shot. But it's not a talent thing. And that's what I think is so unique about this is they have the talent. It's just a pure chemistry thing. And now we're seeing there's locker room issues, which kind of makes sense and proves my point of what I've been saying now for a couple of months.
Well, and it's not only like you said, we had you on at the beginning of the year, before the year started. Yep. We talked about that this was a very talented team. I mean, you got some guys coming in. I mean, Ellis put up some great stats. Battles put up some great stats where he was. Marks was on a great team and was a great player on a great team in Houston.
Yep.
All these guys. I mean, Minifield, all of them were quality players and guys that you kept looking at their stats and they had the things that we would have said the team last year was missing.
Yeah.
They higher percentage of 3-point shooting, right?
Yep.
Great free throw shooting, high free throw numbers. So they got to the free throw line a lot.
Yep.
Great assist people.
Yep.
So
brought in a pure point guard, Layden Blocker, Ellis, which we have not had in a while.
That's right.
Yep.
And then we had Brazil still here. We had Devo Davis still here.
Yep.
We had, everybody talking about how Jalen Graham was having great practices.
Freshman of the year in the Pac-12. I mean, Jalen Graham was freshman, right?
Yeah.
Talent everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, but like you said, when you watch them play, like you said, the offense doesn't seem to flow at all. Even, and Muss has some isolation where one guy just comes down, dribbles a lot and shoots. We've done that in the past. That happens. It's an NBA way of playing it. That's part of his offense at times. But even when you do that, there still needs to be a flow to it. It still needs to work within the flow of the offense.
Yeah.
And it looks disjointed. And then we're seeing lack of effort.
Yes.
We're seeing a guy like Brazil who used to step up and take on anybody that came in the lane.
Yep.
And he's rubbernecking as they go by.
Yep. And Travis, that's what surprised me the most. I'll be honest. You don't see effort being an issue at the college level a ton. And, some people different come to me and say, well, NIL and they don't care. No. They do care because a lot of these guys are trying to get to the next level. And that's, if that's not the NBA, that's overseas. Most of this roster is going to try to go play professionally at some level to make money. Well, listen, there's a lot of things that players can explain. Lack of effort is not one of them. Right. It's just really hard to explain at any level. And so you don't see that a lot. You see it a lot in the NBA where coaches don't really X's and O's. They try to motivate talent. And you could tell that for whatever reason, this team just did not want to play hard. And guys, I'm not talking about like a game here, 5 minutes here. It seemed like consistently for 7 games, we could play somewhat hard for a half, and then we shut down the second. That's why we're getting blown out of games. A lot of it is you get down by 8 and you just roll over and quit. So that's the thing that surprises me the most.
Yeah. And, one of the points I brought up, when you have the transfer portals we do, the perception is some of the kids got pushed out.
Yeah.
Some of them got pushed out. I'm going to name Darian Ford, for example.
Sure.
Arkansas kid,
Yep.
wanted to be a Razorback his entire life. You think if you had like a kid like that from Arkansas who's a known leader, do you think if Darian Ford was still on this team that you would see that lack of effort you do? Or you think he could have been that vocal leader to bring it together?
I don't know if he would have been the vocal leader to bring it together right away as a freshman or sophomore, but I think he would have played hard. And certainly, let's say this, KK Robinson has transferred to UALR and is setting the world on fire. I mean, he's averaging 16 or 17. That's an effort guy. That's a two-way guy. So I don't think that you can underestimate having a 4, 5-star, whatever, because KK and Darren Ford are all ranked high enough. But certainly you can know guys that bring it every day in practice. Why I said, how do you take Layden Blocker out? He's the one guy that consistently plays hard all the time. Well, every time he's in, he makes something happen.
And I think that's what's one of the frustrating things for a lot of the fans is that like he keeps playing the same guys. It's like he hasn't been like, you know what? And a lot of people, everybody pines for Pinion because he's from Laurel and he's one of us.
Yep.
But and by one of us, I mean an Arkansas kid. He, and everybody's screaming for him to play more, and he's still just like, it almost seems like Muss isn't wanting to play him out of spite sometimes.
Yeah.
Because if I do it, I'll be making them guys on the radio happy.
I can see why on the defensive side why Pinion doesn't play.
I've given up on this basketball team because they've already given up on themselves. So I haven't watched in months.
Well, some of his closeouts on defense and things like that, he's lacking on.
Yeah.
And struggles with. But going back to what you were saying about KK, Darian Ford, and I want to throw Barry Dunning in there.
Yeah.
Well, Barry Dunham hasn't done much at UAB. I checked up on him.
But here's my thoughts though. But we were hearing good things about him in practice.
Yeah.
Other players were talking about him. In interviews they would say that he was really showing up good in practice and things like that. But here's my point. Would you rather have some of these 1-year transfer guys, or would you rather have, especially going into next year right now, or would you look forward to this team even more if you had those 3 guys in there going into there? Well, KK would have been a little older, but still, let's say Dunning and Ford going into their junior year. They've been in the system for 2 years. Like you said, this would have been a second-year development for those 2 guys.
Yep.
They had their freshman year. They got to play a little bit. This year they would have played a little more. But by the 3rd year, man, it's their team.
Yep.
It's their team. Yep. Here's your guys. Here's your core. Now bring in some portal guys. Bring in some 5-star recruits or whatever else you're bringing in to put with them. And then you have a good nucleus for a team. See what I'm saying?
Yes.
Instead of what you have right now, which is all, brand new guys.
You get attacked by a dog, Bart?
Well, not anymore because I just put them out. I'm sorry, guys.
Hey, no problem.
But I'm always going to err on the side. This is why we have parity in basketball, that mid-major teams can compete because they have system guys.
Yep.
That are there 2 or 3 years. It's the whole premise of why Power 5 teams have been caught up with. And in the NCAA tournament, you never know. So I would always err on keeping guys in a system, especially in college. You get them all this time. You could develop them and really on both ends. And you could also get them stronger and more physical. So I would hate my roster to turn over every single year. And I think that's a big part of the problem. And let's say rumors aside, Coach Musselman comes back. Here's the big question, because Coach Musselman told me flat out what he was going to stick to: 2 high school guys, transfer portal. That was all it's going to be, 2 high school. Now, does that change? Does it become 4 to 5 high school guys that you can develop and then less transfer portal? I don't know. But certainly that, I think, is the argument now that you've got to make, because, listen, this experiment didn't work out really well.
Well, I mean, Calipari had a year like that where he had, Calipari always has like one of the top 5 recruiting classes in the country, and he turns the roster over, but he was doing it with one and dones instead of the portal. I mean, they have a couple role players, but for the most part, it was like, no, you got to go pro. I got to have that. I got to have that scholarship for somebody else. But and he had that one year where he's just like, I don't know what the hell's wrong with this team.
Yeah.
I wish I could figure it out. Normally he's Sweet 16 making a run or getting beat by a team whose mascot's the Peacocks, something like that. Was it St. Francis?
Well, to me, you got to have a healthy mix.
Yeah.
You need some of those. You need some of those guys that you're developing. You got to have those guys that you're developing and that you're forming into. They're musts on the court. You know what I mean? They're the guys that they're not coming in with a bunch of other coaches that have poured into them, and you're just trying to get them to play your system for a year or 2 while you got them.
Yeah.
They're guys that have been trained under you, which is, like I said, which is what Devo is, right?
Yeah, sure.
That's what Devo is.
Yep.
He's a guy, he should be must on the court.
Yep.
But I was listening to Chuck Barrett on their morning show they do. We get it down here in South Arkansas. And, he was saying, look, he said, there's guys that are leaders off the court. There's guys that are leaders on the court. And he said, this team has some guys that are leaders off the court, but they're not much of leaders on the court. They're not the guys that say, let's lock arms and go to battle together.
Yep.
And, he's a guy that's around them a lot more. So I trust him when he says that. He said, Devo, he said, look, Devo Davis is not the type that's necessarily the leader on the court all the time that you would want him to be. And he said, he's just not wired that way. And that's okay. Not everybody has to be wired that way, but you need some guys like that.
Yep.
And those are the guys that are usually developed under a coach for multiple years. We always, when we think of that guy, especially guys our age, we go to the Corey Beck.
Yeah, sure.
We go to Lee Mayberry.
Absolutely.
They were Nolan on the court. Okay.
Yep.
They weren't the only leaders on their team. There was other leaders on their team. Corliss was a leader. But those were the guys that you were like, when that coach needed something, he looked at them and they grabbed their teammates and said, let's go, boys.
Yep.
And to me, that's what I think any coach in this system, I think, has to get. I mean, I haven't looked exactly at the roster, but if I remember right, UConn's roster had a mix like that. They had some guys that had been there for a while.
Yep.
Some of them had even transferred in, but had been there for 2 or 3 years. Been there for a couple of years as transfers. They had some that were new transfers, and they won the national championship.
Yep. I'll say this on that. The thing that scares me a little bit about, I think, this specific team and last year's team was that some of these players are actually getting worse while they're there. They're digressing instead of improving.
Good point.
And so Nick Smith was a prime example. When I'm talking to Nick Smith Sr. about, I'm noticing footwork that he has down in his bag that he regressed and was not doing. Some of the reason he was struggling a little bit on defense at times. And so that gets to be a point where, because of the requirements on the court, is Coach Musselman spending too much time and going team strategy, because kind of as we're talking about chemistry, it's still an individualized game. And that's where I think you watch teams like Baylor and UConn, their players, and even Kansas, their players get better every single year. They get better. And so even though Coach Musselman's put out a lot of NBA talent, I don't think they've gotten a lot better while they've been on campus. I'm just being honest.
It's crazy. I'd never thought about this before, but you remember there was a while there that Musselman couldn't keep an assistant coach.
Perhaps.
And Musselman's a great strategist. If you give Musselman a week to prepare for a game, he's probably going to win that game.
Sure.
Every now and then, like they'll run, like UConn they ran into the steamroller last year.
Yeah.
I mean, UConn obviously was going to beat anybody that played against them. They blew everybody out to the national championship. But has he just done a poor job hiring? Because, a great leader told me, hire to your weaknesses.
Sure.
Hire to your weaknesses. Well, if you're a master strategist, then your team needs skills and drills.
Yep.
Has he not done a good enough job? Maybe this would be something we may see an assistant thrown under the bus. And
Well, see, Clint, this is interesting because at drive time last week, somebody called and said, "Hey, Art, what do you think about the assistant coaches? Are they capable?" And I said, "Well, I don't know this group, but I know this. We have lost some really great assistants. Corey Williams was a great assistant coach. Clay Mosier was a great assistant coach. So in a case like Corey Williams took a pay cut, $125,000 pay cut to go to Texas Tech. Like, is that a red flag? That was a guy that I talked to a ton where he comes in wanting to know the lay of the landscape. Well, he's building relationships with all these recruits. So when you lose that, it's not just a coach on the court. You're losing an extension of what the brand is to the high school players everywhere, because all these guys talk. So I think while we have, Ronnie Brewer, Keith Smart, it's not that they're not qualified. I'm just saying, I think it's been a struggle probably for Coach Musselman's and a lot of these guys that are type A like that. Chris Beard's had trouble keeping assistants. But I think that's been a problem, certainly. And I think that's why morale is low. And that's why you're getting really poor effort at times. And I'm just being honest.
It's easy to have good morale when you're winning. And it's easy to have bad morale when it's not going well.
Sure.
But
well, it's something we were talking about before we started the podcast is Musselman with his, he has his highs and he has his lows emotionally.
Yep.
And usually guys like that are hard. The people that work with them need to be very understanding and very, it's not easy. You gotta tread lightly at times.
Yeah.
Because when they get upset, you never know what's gonna,
Oh yeah.
He wears it on his sleeves when he's upset. We talked about his press conferences after a loss. He's like a kid that just got caught doing something, and he's, he always, to his credit, he says the right things. He never says anything wrong.
Yeah.
But his mannerisms, the way he acts, And
I'd love to play Eric Musselman in poker. I don't think he'd be very good.
Oh yeah,
no,
he would.
Sure would.
He got pocket aces. He'd be written all over his face.
That's right.
He'd be like, oh, look like the cat that ate the canary.
But guys, it was morale low when we were losing when the first SEC game is Auburn, because we rolled over. And that what I'm saying is things were not bad then.
Yeah, you're right.
You have seen stretches where this team has just not come out and competed. If we're saying that morale's not low, they have gone through stretches and they have just not competed. the SEC is shooting 40% from the 3-point line against Arkansas this year.
Gosh.
It's the worst mark in the league, 40%. So think about that. That was a stalwart of Coach Musselman's defense, is defending the 3-point line.
Yeah.
Since he's been at Arkansas, they're worst in the league. His closeouts, to the point you're talking about Joseph, and I don't disagree that Joseph doesn't have some deficiencies, but I could say this: the whole team for a stretch was deficient in closeouts, and especially just defensive motor. But that goes to, I think, just a lot effort. Again, effort and focus.
No, I know. I agree with you 110%.
Hey, I got a message that this is not confirmed. This is from a buddy. I'm not sure where he got it, but it's saying that Muss has allowed Devo back.
Okay.
Devo's back with the team.
So,
well, that,
like I said, I'm sure he's getting it from Twitter or X or whatever.
Well, I think that's let's say it. I think that's a great thing. To speak on the Devo topic, and this was asked, if the university is not saying anything and Devo's not saying anything, I think it's not irresponsible for us to speculate on rumors and innuendos. My stance has been, everybody has issues that they have to deal with, and whether it's family, whatever, a lot of that stuff, these are kids, and these issues sometimes those things have to be fixed before they can step foot on the court. This is not the first time players across the country have taken a leave of absence. And if Arkansas is willing to wait and say for Devo, who's been a very loyal Razorback for a very long time in a era where people don't stay for more than a year, I think that says enough. And so I think it would be a great thing if Devo came back, because I think he is off the court the de facto leader of this team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's tough, because the tough part is he's done it. He's taken a lead middle of the season, 2 years in a row.
True.
At difficult times to take a lead.
Yep.
And so, and like I said, rumors aside, I don't know the guy personally. I don't know what he's going through. I don't know what he's facing. And it could be, and I'm sure it's a very legitimate reason. I'm sure it is.
Apparently it is it was confirmed on Eric Musselman's radio show today.
Okay. I'm gonna trust that it's a legitimate reason.
It's breaking news to us right now, but by the time we put this out, everybody's gonna be like, yeah, we already knew that.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Like, yeah, that's old news.
But still, we're one of the first to talk about it. So
yeah, we're talking about it. We're talking about it on podcasts. Yeah.
So
it's.
But I just, I see where the frustration is with fans, because it has happened twice.
Yep.
I could see where it would be frustrating if I was a teammate.
But here's the thing: none of us know what's going on. Yeah. And it's easy for fans to complain, but if it wasn't the best thing for the team, I don't think Musselman would have him back. And if it's hurt anything, if it's hurt anyone, we can gripe about it, fans. If it hurt anyone, it's hurt Devo.
Absolutely.
Because here's what's going to happen. If I'm an NBA scout, I'll look at that.
Amen.
If I'm an overseas scout for Greece or whoever, I'm looking at that. No one has been hurt by this more than Devo. And just because we're fans, we like to piss and moan about things, but Devo's been hurt by this more than anybody else.
Yep. And that's why I think it's worth taking a pause until Devo gets back, and he'll have to answer these questions when he comes back. But you're right. It hurts him for future earnings. And because this guy was going to play because his defense would have put him in a position to make a run at a free agent contract. I don't think he gets drafted by any means, but this certainly could follow him around. And so if it's warranted enough for him to step away and Coach Musselman allows him to step away and come back, you would assume it's certainly a legitimate reason, even though it is twice and the optics of it just don't look great.
Oh, you're exactly right. I doubt he gets drafted either, but he's taller, maybe a little more athletic Patrick Beverly.
Yeah, absolutely.
He could go that route, you know, and so I think NBA teams would give him a look.
Certainly
so
give him a
you're
look.
right. And Clinton, great point. Great point.
Yeah.
He's the one that gets hurt. And second to that, the team.
Yep.
And if they're willing to take him back, and Musselman's going to do what's best for the team and for Devo, you know, and so we just have to trust that, you know, it is the right thing. And as Bart said, and so, you know, look, the guy has given us, he's been here his whole college career, you know, he didn't up and leave. He's not, you know, there's no sign he's going to up and leave. If he leaves, it's going to be to go get paid to play, more than likely.
Yeah.
Whether that's overseas or whatever it is, G League or whatever. So, yeah, we just got to support them. And, you know, but right now they're in a bad hole, you know, 11-11 overall, 2-7 in conference, you know.
And the SEC is brutal, guys. So we got 9 teams in last year. Was it 8 or 9? 8?
It was up
9.
there. I'm not sure. Yeah.
It was 9. So it was a record. Let's say that. I don't think they get 9 in. I think they probably get 8. But the league might be actually better this year because Kentucky's better. And usually when Kentucky's better, the league's better as a whole. So a lot of these teams that Arkansas is losing to, it's, yes, we're playing really bad in stretches, but it's the quality of competition is really, really good. And certainly there's no rest for the weary. So if you come out and you're not playing 100% effort, you can get blown out of the gym in a hurry because we've got NBA level athletes, NBA level talent, and some of the best coaches in the country. So there's no holes. There's no free nights. There's no free lunch in this league anymore. And so teams are gonna make you pay. And I think Georgia's up next. So
yeah,
Arkansas better be ready.
We already lost. We lost at Georgia, didn't we?
Yep.
I believe
sure
so.
Did.
Now there's a lot of rumors out there. So, and I don't want to get into the bad ones, but one of the rumors is that Muss is frustrated.
Yeah.
And part of him being frustrated is, you know, he's looking at Minnesota, he's looking at this and that. Should Hog fans be worried?
Oh, I'm doubling down on this. Speaking of poker, there's no reason to think just because Eric Musselman is losing basketball games, and he absolutely is frustrated that he's leaving. Because I think just pure looking at it, if you go from Arkansas to Minnesota, that's a step backwards. And Coach Musselman does not strike me as a guy that likes to take steps backwards or even laterally on his resume. There's a couple of jobs that I would consider maybe better than Arkansas, but he's built up certainly a brand here, and he's built up a reputation for getting top players. Guys, I don't think that's not going to change because of 1 year.
No, and I agree with you. And even if some of the rumors are true and it gets bad up there and everybody transfers, Musselman's going to put together a good team just out of the transfer portal.
Absolutely.
Alone.
Now, see, Travis, we talked about NIL, and so NIL does change, I think, the overall, happiness of the job. And a lot of these guys are so focused on winning. There's not a lot of happy times, even when you are winning. But I think that's added an element of, let's say that, for lack of better word, control. That Coach Musselman, all the top guys like to have that level of control as much as possible. So I think that's entered into the equation. And also, as I'm just being honest, man, these kids now, they're just different. And you have an environment, a guy could be an all SEC performer, averaging a double-double, and he's at risk to go out the door. And that stuff makes the job extremely difficult. So I always felt like Coach Musselman, if he left, it would be to go back to the NBA because that eliminates a lot of that stuff. And
Bart, you and I talked about it earlier, but we're seeing that some with football. We saw Boston College's head coach.
Yep.
I think he's now the offensive coordinator for the Packers. He left, a good, Boston College isn't, a juggernaut, but that's a good job. That's a good, and one of the reasons he left was he was tired of the NIL stuff.
Yeah.
I think we saw Nick Saban retire at the time he did. I think he might have stayed around a couple more years if he wasn't dealing with the NIL stuff.
I agree.
I think it wears him out. When Clint's
with
old
NIL,
coach,
the transfer portal. We had Coach Mullins on here, and he's talking about how he has all these friends that are college coaches, and they're absolutely miserable.
Yeah.
He said every one of them. He said all across. He has people that all across levels of college football. None of them are happy with transfer portal and NIL, the way it's being ran right now, and the rules with no rules, the way it is. And so, if I was Musselman, I would think about it.
Yeah.
And like you
No doubt.
said, and the stuff you're dealing with these kids, now you've thrown something where they're all of a sudden getting more money than most of them have ever seen, and they're not being guided through that like they should be probably.
Yeah.
They're not, the NFL has worked hard and the NBA has worked hard in training their rookies on how to deal with, now you got all this money. This is what your life needs to look like. Well, as far as I know, that's not happening very well with these kids with NIL.
Yeah.
And it may not be as big of a jump as NBA first round money or NFL first round money, but for a kid that's got nothing,
yeah.
and all of a sudden they're getting $200,000.
It's crazy.
A kid that's grown up, let's just say a kid that's grown up on welfare, or a parent that's working at a factory job that's living paycheck to paycheck, and all of a sudden they got all their expenses are paid, and then someone else is paying them $200,000-$300,000 to play a college sport. Man, you're gonna deal. I wouldn't have been ready to deal with that at 18, 19 years old.
No, and just the dramatic change of the landscape of what we're seeing. So when my first year at UNLR, I had to take NCAA ethics because we were on probation because they handed Christmas cards out with $100 bill to 12 of the players, and we're talking about 200,000. And so, but to that point, if you factor in NIL trying to win basketball games and get recruits into your program as being the main stressors, does that stress get more if you go from Arkansas to Minnesota? Because I say it does. It's way harder to get all three. And so that's why I don't see Coach Musselman going anywhere except a couple of jobs that fall into a very tight category, or the NBA.
Yeah.
Well, I remember because Trey Day, all day, every day, from Power 92, he's been a guest on the program. He talked about he's good friends with Chris Beard.
Yeah.
Because Trey Day's always out there at the Little Rock games.
Sure.
But he said, Beard, when he went to Texas, goes, look, if I can't do it here, I can't do it.
Yeah.
And it was the same thing, I think, in Arkansas. Bud Walton's a palace, the practice facility. He's not going to have better facilities pretty much anywhere else he goes for basketball. But I can see, the frustration up there with this season and with some of the rumors.
Yeah. It's been rough.
Yeah. It's just whether they're true or not, he's not addressing them, and which I don't blame him because it's not his story to tell, but it's got to be a frustrating experience.
Yeah, it is. Yep. Because he's underperformed. NCAA tournament tops. Okay. So that's the Acme that we measure everyone to. This team underperformed last year. We finished 10th in the league last year, guys.
Yeah.
With the best players we've ever had, quote unquote, so
star wise,
yeah. So this has been I won't say a problem, but I think he's had trouble getting players to I think, collectively compete throughout the season, whether it's because of injury or whatever. But this was a little bit of a red flag. If you really paid close attention, you could see it in the SEC conference play last year.
Well, Bart, getting close, man, to the end of the podcast. But here's how I want to end it. Okay. Seasons are wrapping up.
Yep.
Just for this team to look forward to next year, we got a lot of fans that are like Clint was talking about. They're tuning out.
Yep.
Okay. It's
I'm not going to turn the game on. Like, I'm not going to go out of my way to watch it. I'll check the scores on ESPN. It's just the way it is the rest of the year.
It's just kind of got to that point.
What you get paid and you have to report on this.
What would you like to see for the rest of the season? What do you expect to see out of this team the rest of the season? As we go into next.
So great question. So somebody asked, is NIT and the expect? I don't know if Coach Muslim would accept an NIT bid, honestly, even if they were offered it to him. Some coaches haven't seen. So I would like to see them protect home court. I would like to see them walk into Bud Walton and say, our back's against the wall. This is a place where we're not losing. I don't care who we're playing. We're not losing any more games. So if they could hover around, because there are winnable games left on the schedule. So I think, if you're trying to finish 500, I think that's almost unrealistic. What I would be paying more attention to than wins or losses is just consistent effort on the court. And so I think a line has to be drawn. It's time to stop getting blown out. I can see losses. This team should not be getting blown out at LSU by 25 points. I'm sorry. Shouldn't happen. So I think they need to protect home court, keep their energy up. But I would say this, every game needs to be close within 8 to 10 points, certainly for about 80% what's left of the year.
But this team's got so much. This team's got so much talent. It just does. We all know that this is his team. I think Eric Musselman thought had the talent to get him over the top.
Yep.
Any chance that it just snaps together? And all of a sudden, it just for some reason, it just clicks.
So I thought, when Devo went out, there was energy that came up. And in the Kentucky game, you could see the energy level was high. It'd have to be a Nolan, Joe Johnson team where they win in the tournament, where it would all click. And certainly, is it possible some teams are resting? Yes. Do they have the talent to do it? Yes. They need some drastic defensive adjustments. And that's not just defending the 3-point line. That's stopping layups, guys, stopping the ball in transition. Are you kidding me? Like, you have to get back. First of all, they're blaming the forwards, Mitchell and those guys, for not getting back. I'm like, guards have to stop the ball in transition, first of all. But so there's a lot of things that have to be fixed, but they do have the talent. I think it's if he can get his rotation right, but that's easier said than done because we talked about Joseph. I think coaches always go back to what they're comfortable with, not who is the best player, comfortability. Yeah. And he seems to be comfortable with guys that are not getting it done. And I think that's another big problem that has to change.
Yeah,
I agree with what y'all said. The only thing I would add to it is I want to see some development.
Yeah.
And opportunities for development.
Yeah.
And that goes into what you were just talking about of who plays. Yep. Layden Blocker needs to be heavy minutes.
Yep.
Because he needs to have every chance. He's the point guard next year.
Yep.
He's the guy you hand the ball to. He's your guy you develop to be muscle on the court in the future. So he needs to have lots of minutes and needs to have an opportunity to develop on the court, I believe. Yep. And so I think any other guys that you think are going to be around next year, I can't remember where everybody's at as far as whether they have eligibility as far as the transfers go. I know a lot of them don't have much left, but they're, I think you got to see some of those guys have opportunities to develop, and then when they're out there, see them develop. These last few games.
100%. And Bart, I'm a father. You're a father. Travis has helped raise a gajillion kids through being a youth pastor. The one thing I told my wife about the kids, I'm like, look, if you don't give them a chance to prove to you that they're not going to screw up, you got to give them a chance to screw up before they can prove to you they won't. And some of these guys need a chance to show you they're not going to screw it up, because the guys you're trusting not to screw it up are screwing it up.
They're screwing it up. And if you're not gonna trust them, why'd you bring them in? And
100%. 100%. And it's pretty late in the year, and I think it's time to see it's what some of these young guns got that you're not necessarily playing with. Not been playing, and and I think I agree with you 100%. Blocker needs his minutes. I assume, I don't know, I haven't been watching, but I see the box score. He ain't getting many minutes. Up them minutes. See what happens.
Yeah. And I'll say this in closing. They upped the rule quietly in January from 4 to 6 coaches on the court. Mm-hmm. And this is why there's no skill development guys in college, is because of that rule, the 20-hour rule, and then 4 coaches on the court. They upped it to 6. If I was Coach Musselman, I would be hiring 2 skill development guys instead of graduate assistants running the skill development workouts, because the University of Arkansas has plenty of money. And so let's divert some of that money and get some of these players better, because players stay for development, and it's proven over time. And so that's another big piece that I think Arkansas is not doing.
100%.
And to come back to a point that you said, look at the way some of these guys are developing. And look, they're going to get better, hopefully get better in the NBA. Look at some of the things some of these guys are developing in the NBA that they wasn't developing in college.
Yeah.
We've had Jordan Walsh, I know he's gone, he's had his ups and downs. We're seeing some things out of him we wasn't seeing his 1 year at Arkansas.
Absolutely. Because most of the staff in the NBA, people don't realize, they got skill development guys that specialize in dribbling, shooting, post moves. Like that's where they spend most of their time. Yeah. And so take a little bit from that and take it to Arkansas.
Well, Bart, man, we appreciate you so much coming on here.
Guys, I love it, man.
Thank you. You brought up so many points I hadn't even thought about with the skill development and all that. Man, it was great to have you on.
Yeah, always
enjoy you having on, but this time it's my favorite.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Hey, let's do it again.
Yeah, man.
Maybe they'll make a run. Yeah.
And
tell Trey Biddy to holler at me.
Once again, look up.
I'm joking.
Once again, look up Bart on Pure Sweat. Give the website again, Pure Sweat.
Yep, puresweat.com. And
yep.
And you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, the Bart Reid.
And you're located in Sheridan, but you do
Sheridan, but I go all over.
You do a lot of training in what's that place in Benton?
Summerwood, that brand new facility is so nice, and it's really one of the top-notch facilities, like NBA level facility. So,
and also don't forget to check him out on Hog Sports. Okay, we'll give them a plug too. And if you don't have a membership there, it's worth it. It's worth getting a membership there for sure. Absolutely. So, folks, like and share this podcast with your friends, with your loved ones, with the enemies. Comment on it. What do you think about what we said? Do you agree, disagree? Are you glad Devo's back? Are you mad Devo's back? Let's not get into the National Enquirer stuff. We don't want to get all into that, but what do you think about it? Is Musk going to be here? Is he going to stay around? Let us know. You can check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the places. You can listen to podcasts on Apple, Spotify, and then of course on the YouTubes. Thanks again, Bart. Appreciate you.
Thanks, guys. Y'all have
Clint,
a good one.
As always, you're the man.
No, you're the man. Bart's the man.
Bart's the man.
We're all men. We're all the men.
Sweat, work, filthy, dirt, harvest, hurt, kingdom come. Listen, that's why I sweat when I work. My hands get filthy down in this dirt. Won't see no order till I hurt. Crying your kingdom come. Listen, I wake up in the morning, I bow my head to pray. Mama told me if I don't, ain't nothing gonna change. These prayers breaking up hard drive so I can sow the seed. Ain't afraid of no aches and pain. Lord knows I gotta follow his lead. That's why I sweat when I work. My hands get filthy down in this dirt. Won't see no water till I hurt. Crying your kingdom come. Oh, I sweat when I work. My hands get filthy down in this dirt. Won't see no water till I hurt. Crying your kingdom come. Sun beating down so hard, I can barely breathe. Hard to sing a joyful song, the words got me on my knees. Then the gentle breeze blows by, pick me up right on time. Listen, now I know the Lord is near, working right by my side. That's why I sweat when I work. My hands get filthy down in this dirt.